Hello everyone. In today's video, we're going to go over the basic tutorial and basic features of the SIMPATI software so you can get up and running with it at your lab or facility. What you see before you is the main SIMPATI screen, and you can see we already have one chamber loaded into the software. These values aren't going to match a real chamber, as this is just a dummy controller we have in-house, but it's still good for tutorial purposes. To start, you want to go over the chamber and you want to right click, and this opens the menu for the different functions you can perform on that chamber. And as you have more chambers, you can do this for others as well. So first, right click, and we're going to first go to status. This is how you can operate the chamber in manual mode. And here we have some process variables: temperature, humidity, and product temperature. These might change depending on your particular purchase. But to change them, you would just click, and you could change it to, let's say, 30 Celsius, maybe 75% relative humidity, and we'll just leave product temperature there. So those are the set points you'd like. And then by hitting this play button and acknowledging the warning, you see the chamber now has a green check mark and it's running. So everything is operating as it should be, and if this was a real chamber, these actual values would approach the set point values. So that's to run it in manual mode, and to stop it, all you have to do is hit the stop button. And now the chamber is no longer running. Also in this status menu, you can see your digital channels, what are active. You can see any errors that have popped up, and then here's a list of process variables. Next is archiving. So this is where you can set individual settings for your data logging. So file name and comment, so it's easier to find in the future. And then if you want to start or stop it with the chamber, or if you want to start and stop it at a particular moment in time. Here you can set the archiving rate. So I believe the standard is 1 minute, but you can change this to maybe 10 seconds if that better suits your needs. And then to start the archiving, all you have to do is hit the play button here. So now we can see the save icon right next to the chamber, so it is data logging. Then to stop, if you're not going to use the either stop with the chamber or at a set time, you can manually stop it with this button right here. So next is Program Editor. We have 3 different types: graphical, symbolic, and tabular. Because this is just a basic tutorial, I'm only going to cover the tabular, as that is the most popular. So here we have a screen pop up, and it's very similar to Microsoft Excel. Here we have our duration, and then we have our process variables. So let's say we start at ambient conditions, and clicking here, I want to do a preconditioning of 1 hour. So I'll leave those all the same. And then by hitting the Enter key, you can bring a new line here. And let's say I want to jump to 85 Celsius, 85% relative humidity as quickly as possible. So that means my duration, at least from the program standpoint, is 0. And then for the soak, let's say I want to sit there for 6 hours. And then we hit enter again for a new step. And then after that, I want to bring it down to ambient conditions again. And let's say I want to stay there for 2 hours. So here we start at ambient, we go to 85 as quickly as possible, and then we come back down to ambient as quickly as possible, and then we're done. Here we can hit the save icon, and it's already saving in the SIMPATI folder, and I will call this test 8585 example, and we'll save it. So here we have the program, and now we want to push it to the chamber. So we'll go to right click and we'll say program transfer. So here we want to download the program we just made to the chamber. So this is already the correct storage point for our tests. And you can see right here we have test 8585 example. So I want this test that we just made to go into the chamber, and let's say I want it at spot 002 because it's open. So I'll hit download and we'll wait a moment. So here we got the green light and we had a successful program transfer. So if we want to upload a program that's already in a chamber to our SIMPATI database, we can do that as well. So here we'll say upload, and you can see we successfully have our 8585 example. But let's say we want this PV 2005. So here, that's the program we want to upload from the chamber to SIMPATI, and we can say upload. And green check, that was successful. So this is a really easy way to move programs from the chambers to SIMPATI and vice versa. And then if we need to delete programs in the controller, we can go here, and since we already moved this PV 2005, let's say we want to delete it now, then we just hit delete, and it was successful. So if we try to go back, it's no longer here. And there's just the green confirmation. So we made a program, we pushed it to the chamber, now we want to run it. So we're going to right click and we want to do automatic start stop. So here we have a couple of options, either with download. I'm going to say without download because I know the program's already there, and we want to run this test 8585 example. And start time and date for our archiving is immediate, so I will leave that there. And then all we have to do is hit run. If we want to start at a different time, we could say maybe 1 hour from now, but we'll just leave it immediate so you can see it. And then we'll start the program. We always have this warning, so you have to double check that your temperature limiter was set. We give it a minute so we can see it acknowledged. And we have it running on the chamber now. So we have the green check mark, we have the run, we have our test 8585. Now I didn't click the archiving here, so let's go turn that on, archiving. And I just want it to start immediately, so I'm going to hit the play button. And you can see now we have the archiving here. So now our test is running, and it will continue to run until the program finishes, at which point this green check mark will turn off. But let's say you want to analyze what's happening in the chamber in real time. What you can do is right click again and go to Analyze Graph. So here, we've started and stopped the chamber multiple times, so there's a couple of different data points here. But this right here is our real data, and it'll get more interesting as the program progresses. But we'll come back to this, and I'll show you how to use the Sim Viewer to analyze your data in real time. So continuing down the menu, we're going to go to Configuration. Here you can change the name of your chamber. So here you could say chamber 1, chamber 2. You can change your chamber type, where your data is stored, and here's a backup for the archiving rates. Your interface, this is where you can set your IP address, different limits for the chamber, a list of errors and warnings, and then just general information here. So just a general menu here to set configuration items on your chamber. For any changes you make, you'll have to hit the Set button to apply those changes, and then you can hit Close. So right-clicking again, lock, unlock will probably be the last thing I talk about. So here you see the lock, so that'll prevent users locally to the chamber from using it, but we'll unlock that. So that's the main operation point for the chamber. We are going to actually stop the chamber. And because we have it running in automatic mode, we cannot edit it in the manual mode status. This will tell you how it's doing, but to actually stop the chamber, we'll go back to automatic start stop. And because we don't want to wait for the program to finish, we're going to do a hard stop here. So yes, we want the program to stop. And the chamber stopped. And here we will turn off the archiving as well. So we have our Analyze graph, but we also have the same button here, Open Analysis Tool. These are the same thing. So I'm going to click this Open Analysis Tool, and what I want is to go into SIMPATI, and here in the Measure folder, we have some placeholder data that comes standard with the software. So it allows you to practice with the software without actually running a chamber. So I'm going to pick this file right here. And this blue is relative humidity, and this red is temperature. This data doesn't mean anything. It's just dummy data for educational purposes, as you can tell by the timestamps down here. But we're going to walk through how to analyze this data. And the first part are the zoom functions. So we have a zoom on the XY, the Y, or the X. And this is very similar to a tablet or a smartphone, where you can left click and drag to a window, and that window will zoom appropriately. If you do Control Z, it'll send you back to the main window you were just at. If you're interested in just the Y dimension, you can click and drag for that zoom, Control Z to go back, or for your X dimension, same thing, and the scales adjust. Now this is a little bit hard to read. Control L will also take you to a full view of your data, so that's a quick hotkey that's helpful. Here, complete view. So if we zoom here, that'll take you to a complete view again. And then just zoom, undo, redo. This eyeball here will let you scroll through and see what the values are at the appropriate timestamps. So if you just need a quick verification, this is a good way to do that. But one of the most useful tools is this Measure tool. So let's zoom in on this temperature transition here, and we can see we went from 90°C to 23°C by this point down here. And I want to know what this transition rate was. So I'm going to uncheck the eyeball, and I'm going to click this Measure tool. So we have this new window pop up on this side of the screen, and we want to add a measure area. So I'm going to click the plus button. The next item is clicking the data curve that you want to analyze. So here I'm going to click this pull down, and you can see that it got bold. And then I'm going to zoom back to about right here. That's where it starts. And then once you click, a new data point pulls up, and I want to go to 23. So here, the name, we can say 90C to 23C transition. And over here I can see it was 1.2994 C per minute. I'm going to round that to about 1.3 C per minute. And then I hit enter. So here we can see the new name, and if you click the save button, whenever you open this file again, this note will appear. So it's a good way to stamp your data, so to speak, in the SIMPATI software so you can see quickly at a glance, oh, this transition was roughly 1.3 C per minute. The other functions, I'm just using my scroll wheel, so that's another way to zoom in and out of the data. The left click is for the SIMPATI zoom, and then a right click will allow you to pan the data for easier viewing. So all of that is just embedded in the software. Over to the left-hand side here, we have settings. So here you can adjust your scales. So here on your temperature, we don't have any other available curves, but if there were, you could double-click, and then they would be added down here. And then if you want to change the color of a curve, you can come down here, and let's say we make this purple. And now you can see that that curve is purple. You can do that the same with your humidity here, your other settings as well. So here you can open a SIMPATI file. Here you'll save your existing one. This is a standard save as. And then you can print an image, you can export as an image, but most customers like this export as table. So here we want all views, we want to export, and let's just go to the desktop. And that file was exported successfully. So if we come down here, we have all of our data, and what you can do is click the first column, go to Data, Text Columns. We want Delimited, next. Be sure to click the semicolon, next, and finish. And then this will split the data into easier to read pieces, and then by saving this as an Excel file, you can then add graphs, charts, analyze it in a different way if you need to do something outside the SIMPATI software. So that's another way to analyze it. So the last thing we'll talk about today are these menus up here. This is your log in and log out of SIMPATI. This will change your views. So right now we're in icon view, and that's a list view, so there's pros and cons to each. Here's user management, where you can change user settings. And then here's general settings for SIMPATI. And then this will shut down SIMPATI. The data logging, the chamber operation, the remote access will not work if SIMPATI is off. So many customers just leave this on a separate workstation to allow the remote access, the data logging to continually operate. And with that, I will close today's video. But if you have any questions, please call Weiss Technik or visit our website. We would be happy to help with any questions you have. Thank you.